Hello, welcome to my Facebook Live series. I am Kristen Grace McGarry, and I am an integrative holistic healthcare provider. I am licensed in acupuncture in several states and nationally board certified as an acupuncturist and herbalist, and I'm certified in functional medicine, advanced cranial sacral therapy, homeopathy, somato-emotional release. I practice many different modalities that help inspire and awaken you to your wholeness so you are whole and healthy and vibrant again. And in this Facebook series, I am committed to inspiring and empowering you on all things health and life. Today, we're going to be talking about food. I am definitely a foodie. And there are a lot of foods that cause inflammation. In a recent Facebook Live, I talked about dairy. And in my first book, Holistic Keto for Gut Health, I have a whole section on the science behind the dangers of dairy. And so it can often be inflammatory just bringing up dairy because people are often very attached to their cheese and cream in their coffee and different things. So if you're interested in hearing my whole spiel on dairy, please get my Holistic Keto book. It's actually on sale on Amazon. I think it's selling for like $12.99 now. It used to be $16.99. So my publisher is great. Please check out that book and learn a lot more about dairy than I have time to teach you in this Facebook Live. I do want to touch on other foods. So dairy is a very important one to consider because it's quite inflammatory on your whole body and your gut. But there are other foods too. Now, gluten is a big deal in our culture right now, and people are very aware of gluten sensitivity, celiac disease, and something called non-celiac gluten sensitivity, which is a sensitivity to gluten, but it's not formally celiac. And so gluten has been out in the media quite a bit, and I still think it's misunderstood. So I want to take just a moment to talk about gluten, and then I have another whole list of great foods to talk to you about, and another list of foods that you can use to swap out some of the ones that are inflammatory that we're not always thinking are. We think some of these foods are health foods, but they're not. They actually cause inflammation. So gluten. Gluten is like goo food. Have you ever baked bread and you know how like it's all gooey, and it's why it tastes so good. It's why like we like the chewy. Well, it does that in your intestines. And it's really difficult to digest. And when you're not digesting things well, you're getting inflammation. And when your intestines is trying to deal with this gooey, gluey substance called gluten or the gliadin proteins, it can cause a lot of inflammation, and not just in your gut, in your brain, in every organ in your body. There is incredible research on the dangers of gluten. It has been discovered in affecting almost every single organ and area of your body. My dear friend, Dr. Tom O'Brien, is the gluten guru. Tom was on one of my Facebook Lives the other day. I would love to have him here now to share some of his wisdom. Maybe I'll interview him later. But Tom has done a ton of research, compiling research that has been published in very prestigious Western medical journals. And what he has been able to show everyone and to bring to light to people is that gluten is part of many disease patterns. Things like hypoperfusion, which is a lack of blood flow to your brain that can induce stroke, or hypoperfusion where you're not getting blood flow to your heart. Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I was diagnosed with celiac Hashimoto's, which means the celiac disease did not attack my intestines. It caused an autoimmune disease of my thyroid gland. There is also celiac hepatitis. This is not made up. This is in the scientific literature. There's celiac Alzheimer's. Gluten that causes an autoimmune reaction in your body where your body starts to attack your cerebellum, your brain. And this is due to gluten. So gluten is not something to take lightly. Now, there are people, and I've lived in France and visited Spain and spent time in England, and it was before I realized and understood that I had celiac disease. And I have the genes for celiac as well, and I didn't know that then. And from both my parents. Thank you very much. So I warned my son. So when I was in France, I was eating bread. I didn't notice anything except my hair was falling out in clumps. I thought, what's wrong? So it was before I was as aware as I am now. I had been gluten-free in the US, but everyone said, you can eat gluten in France. It's different. And I do believe it is slightly different. There may be less glyphosates, perhaps less GMOs, but gluten is gluten is gluten, and it's not meant for humans. We are not genetically designed to digest gluten and certain grains. We're just not. And so I know this conversation might be a little inflammatory for you as we're talking about inflammatory foods, but I love you enough to push your edges a little bit because I want you to be informed consumers. So I have a whole section on gluten in my first book called Holistic Keto for Gut Health as well. And in a coming Facebook Live, I'm going to talk about gluten a little bit more. In fact, let me check my schedule. Ooh, it's tomorrow. I'm so excited. So stay tuned because tomorrow we're going to dive into gluten and why gluten-free isn't enough. So we'll do that tomorrow. Today, let's go back to other inflammatory foods. We've talked about dairy, we've talked about gluten. Any other guesses? What are some other inflammatory foods? Soy. Now everyone thinks, or almost everyone, many people think, soy is a health food. It's not bad. There are a lot of vegans and vegetarians out there who are eating soy all the time. Well, let me tell you about the science of soy. Soy is goitrogenic. Goitrogenic means it turns your thyroid off. And your thyroid is an incredibly important gland. I was interviewed today on a radio show, and we talked about this for a minute, so I want to reiterate it here so you get to hear it right now. Goitrogenic means it turns your thyroid off. And why is that important? The hormones that your thyroid gland makes that other parts of your body convert to be usable actually impact your genetic expression. Get that? Genetic expression. There's a receptor site on your gene for T3 hormone. This is so important. It's also important for your metabolism, for how you digest and break down your food. I tell you, you do not want to turn your thyroid off for a moment, and soy does it for hours. Not only that, soy is estrogenic. That means it increases your estrogen and brings down your testosterone, which is not good. You do not want to play with Mother Nature's endocrine system. If it's out of balance, we need to figure out why. But consuming soy is not necessarily the way to bring it back into balance because you're messing up other parts of the system or other systems that all work together in your body. So that's a bit on soy. Guess what? I have a whole bit on soy in my book, my first book as well. So if you want to go deeper, if this is interesting to you, get this book, Holistic Keto for Gut Health. It's not just about keto. I talk about many, many things. So one thing that people don't understand is that when you're a published author, you don't always get to choose what your books are titled. My publisher chooses what my books are titled. So move forward. All right, next. My next inflammatory food I want to talk to you about today is corn. So many people eat corn, and corn is really, really challenging to digest. This is kind of gross, but I'm going to go there because I do Asian medicine and we talk about poop all the time. Who out there has eaten corn and seen corn in your poop? People have done it. I see those hands up. It's true. Well, part of the reason is you're not chewing enough, which impacts your digestion. But another reason is that it's super hard to break down in your system. Also, most of the corn in our country is genetically modified at this point, and it's not fit for human consumption. Did you realize that the majority of corn being grown here in the United States is not grown for human food? We couldn't eat it. We couldn't. It'd be dangerous for us to eat it. Guess who it's for? Cows. They feed this crap corn that wouldn't be good for us to eat, that humans could not possibly consume, to cows. And then these blessed poor cows in these huge feedlots develop holes in their stomachs and intestines, holes, because they can't digest the corn either. And right before they would die, they're slaughtered and we buy their meat. Think that meat's good for you? Not so much. This is my 2-second shop organic, pasture raised, happy cows, please, from local farmers that sing to them and play music to them and love them. Okay, if you're a vegan, I apologize. I do eat meat occasionally, but I eat responsibly. All right, next. So corn can cause a lot of inflammation in people. It's really difficult to digest, and most of it's GMO'd. Even if it's not GMO'd, it is not good for you. It's a high starch, hard to digest, not so great for your blood sugar, increases insulin levels, which also is a challenge and causes inflammation. All right, next, toxic oils. So many people are eating processed foods with toxic oils in it, and it causes inflammation. And it's so simple to get things with good oils. Please do this for your body. Love yourself enough to avoid toxic oils. Let me give you some examples. Canola, not a good oil. Corn oil, soy oil, rapeseed oil, not good oils. Anything that's partially hydrogenated is a no-go, my friends. So become a label reader. Partially hydrogenated? Don't buy that. You vote when you buy things. You're telling that company, keep using junk, I'm going to keep buying it. So you have a choice. You're a consumer, you have a choice. So spend your money on good stuff with good oils in it, like avocado oil, olive oil, coconut oil, Brazil nut oil. There are lots of good oils out there. Don't eat the partially hydrogenated, yucky canola things. All right? Okay, good. Next. Legumes. Okay, this is a good one, and this could be inflammatory emotionally to you too if you're a big bean or legume eater. If you're eating lentils every night, not so great for you. Let me tell you why. There's something called lectins, and lectins are inflammatory. They're like anti-nutrients, and you don't want to consume foods that are high in lectins. And legumes and beans, seeds, nuts, and grains all have lectins. I'll tell you a trick, but I want you to not eat so many of those because it's harder on your digestive system, and that means it's impacting your immune system. Your gut is the throne of your immune function. And so if you're eating a ton of beans and legumes and lentils, you are stressing your gut out, and they are actually, so lectins can prevent a particular chemical in your body from signaling to repair your small intestine. It has a chemical that does that. It says, oh no, don't repair here. And your small intestine is so important for immune function and for properly digesting and absorbing your nutrients well. I have found doing labs for years with people that so many people are not absorbing their nutrients well. So let's look at the inflammatory foods that might be causing you a challenge, and legumes could be one of them. Now here's my trick. You know, every once in a blue moon, I'll have a legume, like once a year maybe once every 2 years, not so often. But if I do, I am gonna soak that bean. I'm gonna soak it for 12 hours at least. Let me tell you why. If you soak it, you can trick it into thinking it's gonna sprout. And that's a good thing. I'll tell you why that's a good thing. I'm going to talk about nuts and seeds in a minute, and I'm going to talk about something else that is not so good for you that causes inflammation. Now, with the lectins, you're going to soak it first, and then you're going to cook it. And it's even optimal to put it in a pressure cooker. This helps break down the lectins so that it's easier on your body to digest. When you're cooking things, especially in a pressure cooker, it'll decrease the lectins, so it's a little easier on your body. Okay, there's something else that's really important that has to do with legumes, grains, seeds, and nuts. And that is something called phytic acid. Now, phytic acid is an enzymatic coating on seeds, nuts, grains, and legumes, all of them. And Mother Nature knew best. She made this enzymatic coating to protect that seed, nut, grain, legume from really getting digested, so that the animal, or us, would poop it out and it would regerminate. It's brilliant. It's brilliant, but it's not so good for our digestive system, and it doesn't help us absorb nutrients well. In fact, phytic acid can prevent us from absorbing certain nutrients and leach good nutrients away from our bodies. It's like the complete opposite we're wanting to do if we're eating well. If we're choosing healthy foods and we're spending money on organics, or we're growing our own, we actually want to get all the benefit from it. So the trick for phytic acid is soaking, at least 12 hours, depending on the nut, the seed, the grain. I like 12 to 18 sometimes. When you soak it, it starts to trick it to release the enzymatic coating, because it thinks, oh, I might sprout soon. If you can sprout your grains, your nuts, your seeds, your legumes, it's even better. So keep that in mind, that if you're gonna do some of those things to help it be less inflammatory and better on your immune system, soka. Now, if you're doing nuts and you do soaked nuts and you're gonna sprout them, you could then dehydrate them and they'll last a little longer, and that would be better for you. So phytic acid can be quite inflammatory, so we want to trick our seeds and nuts and legumes and grains into thinking they're going to sprout, and this will help. All right, next. Let's talk about sugar. I talked about sugar recently, but I want to on another Facebook Live, but let me just do a quick review. We are in a time of the COVID pandemic, and sugar halts certain white blood cells from doing their job. And the white blood cells are part of your immune system that will keep you strong and healthy. There's a certain kind of white blood cell, in case you forgot from biology class, that's called a macrophage, and it's beautiful. I've studied dark field microscopy, and I have seen these macrophages in action in some of your blood, and it is so incredible. They are these big white globs that go around, and they like engulf, like a Pac-Man, the bad guys, some of the bad guys in your blood, and they dissolve them inside. They have chemicals, and they just like squirt their toxic chemicals, not toxic for us, toxic for the bad guys, and then they dissolve them and eat it all up. It's quite phenomenal. Your body is amazing at how it can heal. But you want your immune system to be turned on and working all the time. You don't want your white blood cells, your macrophages, to be lazy couch potatoes, because then you get sick, or then it's much easier for you to get sick and get COVID, or get a secondary bacterial infection, or get the flu. Now, sometimes getting sick is a good workout for your immune system, and it's a great natural detoxification. But sometimes, or too often, is not so good for you. And so keeping your immune system strong and looking at the foods you're eating can really, really, really help. So sugar can suppress immune function. Even honey, even maple syrup, even agave, even these natural sugars can suppress your immune system. So recommendations: monk fruit. Now, I don't love the monk fruit at the grocery store because it's mixed with erythritol, and my body does not like erythritol at all. If you have got gut stuff or sensitive digestion, or you're working on gut repair, your body may not like it either. So you can get shipped to your door pure monk fruit online without any erythritol in it. So be a label reader, check it out. Now, if you do well with erythritol, great. Go for the monk fruit with erythritol, but personally, I don't. So monk fruit is a great alternative. I'll give you my other, this is like a major sugar hack, like major. I wish this company would endorse me because I support them so much for free. I just love them so much. My number one is, oh, I just disconnected, but now I'm back. Okay, Bocha Sweet is my number one sugar substitute hack. I love it, BOCHASWEET.com. Now don't buy it all because I love it. So that's my big sugar hack. Some people use stevia. I think it's okay. If you can grow your own beautiful green stevia plant, go for it. It's the best way to use it rather than processed, kind of aftertasty, weird stuff. All right, next, processed foods. Processed foods. You know if it's processed. You understand. It's in a package. If it's in a package, it's processed. So it's important. A lot of processed foods hide things like natural flavors and toxic oils, and they'll say organic, or natural, but it only has to have like 10%, 20% of natural ingredients to be called all natural or organic. There can be lots of hidden things in there. So read your labels. Do your best to not eat very much processed foods. If something's in, a container, it's processed. So we want to minimize that in order to keep your immune system strong. MSG, monosodium glutamate, don't do that. If it says MSG, if it says hydrolyzed yeast, that's a code word for MSG. Now, yeah, it enhances the flavor and possibly keeps it on the shelf longer. Not so good for us. I get a terrible headache. Not so good for us. Okay, next. High carbohydrate intake raises insulin levels. I was watching a Facebook video the other day and somebody was talking about being vegan, which, it's a personal choice. I just want to see your labs to see how you're doing if you're vegan. I want to see what's going on inside your body instead of just being philosophical about it. But this person was talking about being a fruitarian and just eating fruit all day. Oh my goodness. I'm a little concerned about their blood sugar, because insulin is going to be like spiking all the time. Blood sugar is going to be spiking all the time. Their poor pancreas is having to work really hard to keep pushing insulin into the system in order to shuttle the sugar in the blood into the cells. And at some point, depending on their constitution, depending on their genetics, depending on their environment, they could become diabetic or insulin resistant. So be careful. Please stay away from high carbs. Do your best. Your body was not designed for high carbohydrate intake. So I'd say below 50 grams of carbs a day is a good marker. If you want to be closer to a healthy, holistic keto, I'd say below 30. And if you're looking at releasing excess weight, I would say below 20. So those are my markers. Now let's talk about healthy foods that will increase immune function. Let's talk about micronutrients. These are phytonutrients, plant-based nutrients full of vitamins and minerals. These are important for your health and your immune function. Make sure you chew them well. This is the beginning of digestion. If you're not chewing and you're swallowing chunks of food, it's harder to digest, break down, and absorb those nutrients. So please chew your food well. And you might need some enzymes, and you might need some HCl, hydrochloric acid. A lot of people do. I'll do a different Facebook Live on that. So chewing your food, increase your leafy greens. Or do what I do when I travel. I'm not traveling now, but when I do travel, I bring my green drink mixes, because it doesn't matter where I go in the world. I can bring my plastic shaky cup. Yes, it's plastic. I never use it unless I travel. My shaky cup, and I put my green powders in, and I can use filtered water and shaky, and I am getting a ton of micronutrients. And so that's a trick. That's definitely a health, anti-aging, and anti-inflammatory health hack are green drinks. So spirulina, chlorella, wheatgrass, barley grass, oatgrass, alfalfa grass, these are excellent powders that you can be using. Yes, they are often dehydrated. There is some minor processing that goes on because they're being dehydrated and turned into a powder, but hopefully it is at a low temperature, and so it holds all the nutrients still in the powder rather than destroying them. Super important. So I get my green drink mix out, and this can be an added boost during this time of high stress, and we're worried about our immune systems. This can really help. I also will add some other superfoods like acai or makia berry, and these are also powdered, and so you can put those in as well. And I'm going to give you another immune hack. Add some camu camu. Camu camu is an Amazonian superfood. It's a fruit that is almost 0 on the glycemic index and has incredibly high vitamin C. And this is bioavailable, food-based vitamin C, not synthetic, and it's the best for you, and it's super good for your immune system. So add some camu camu to your green drink. Eat your leafy greens. Make sure you're getting a wide variety. Don't eat the same thing every day. That's not so great for you. And that is going to be a huge help to your immune system. Protein. Have some protein, please. It's really important. Animal protein, just a little bit. Organic, wild, pastured, range-free, happy, prayed over, sing over it. Please, you need that complex, comprehensive amino acid profile that you can really only get in flesh food. So if you're a vegan, I understand. I was vegan for 10 years. I didn't eat red meat for 12. They were the sickest years of my life. I understand the human digestive system and our genetics and our teeth, and we're meant to eat meat. Now, if you don't, it's personal choice. I understand, and I'd be happy to help you by looking at your labs and getting you some supplements so that you're not deficient. All right, so a little bit of meat. Healthy fats. Healthy fats are so important for a healthy immune system and a healthy brain. So get your healthy fats, whether it's avocado or coconut or olive oil. You could play with other oils as well, like pepita seed oil, which is pumpkin seed oil. Oh, that can be so yummy, drizzled over a salad or some cooked vegetables. So go ahead and get your healthy oils in as well in order to support your immune system. Are there any questions about inflammatory foods or food substitutes that you'd like me to talk with you about? If there are any questions, go ahead and type in your comment and I will address them. And if you don't do it now and you're listening to the replay of this, type in your questions or your comments about inflammatory foods that you may be curious about, and I'll give you a swap chart. I'll give you ideas for swapping out inflammatory foods for anti-inflammatory foods so that you can keep your immune system really, really strong. All right, any comments coming in, my friends? Doesn't look like it. If you have any, leave them and I'll get to them. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I had to do a later Facebook Live tonight because there was a huge rainstorm here in Costa Rica. It was so beautiful. But I have a tin roof out in the jungle, or a metal roof, and it was so loud. I have very, very high ceilings in my home, and it was so loud. It was incredible. So I had to postpone my Facebook Live. So thank you, everyone, for your patience and for joining me now. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We are going to talk about gluten in a different way and why being gluten-free is not enough. There's more pieces to the picture. So I'll see you tomorrow. Be well.